I want you to try a thought experiment with me. It's a little unpleasant, but it's necessary to set the stage for where we are going today.
Okay, I'm ready.
Imagine you are cleaning out your house. You are doing the deep clean, the basement, the attic, the back of the pantry. You're gathering up all the refuse,
All the junk.
all the junk, the broken glass, the rotting food, the plastic that doesn't recycle, the stuff that is completely useless and broken. You tie it up in a black bag, you throw it in the bin, the truck comes, and it's gone.
It's out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly, it's gone.
That is the modern luxury, isn't it? We operate on the assumption that waste disappears. We expel it from our immediate reality and assume it ceases to be a problem.
Right. But in a closed system, like a spaceship or a submarine or, say, the universe itself, there is no such thing as away. The trash has to go somewhere.
It has to.
So here's the question that kept me up last night after reading through this stack of research you sent over. Does the universe have a landfill?
And we aren't just talking about physical trash here. We aren't talking about space debris or asteroid belts.
No.
We are talking about spiritual refuse.
Right. If we buy into the idea of evolution, that we are all on this upward climb, getting smarter, more spiritual, more refined, what happens to the failures? What happens to a soul that is so heavy, so obsessed with matter, so utterly devoid of light that it literally cannot rise? Where does the cosmic dross go?
It is a terrifying question.
Oh.
And the sources we are looking at today suggest there's a very specific answer. And it's not the metaphorical hell of fire and brimstone where you burn for eternity.
No, this is something different.
It's something much more mechanical. It's a disposal unit.
A disposal unit. A place where failed evolution is ground down. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are conducting a comparative analysis of two parallel worlds that on the surface look nothing alike.
Not at all.
But when you layer them on top of each other, they create a perfect match.
We are looking at a convergence of esoteric theory and dystopian fiction. On one hand, we have the occult concept of the eighth sphere.
Right.
This comes from the heavy hitters of 19th and early 20th century occultism. Helena Blavatsky, Rudolf Steiner, Theosophy, Anthroposophy. They describe a sphere of darkness or an anti-moon.
Anti-moon. And on the other hand, we have a fictional world. We are looking at the book Root Races by Joshua Blake. It's set in a dystopian version of Dallas, Texas. But it's not just your standard Mad Max situation. This is a city that runs on a currency called Tragiax.
And Tragiax, I mean, the name says it all.
It really does. And get this, Tragiax is a system where you literally trade videos of human suffering to pay your electric bill.
Tragedy buys light. That is the slogan of the city.
Chilling.
And my thesis for our discussion today is this. Joshua Blake's fictional Dallas is not just a thriller setting. It is a working, functional model of the eighth sphere in action.
Wow.
It shows us exactly how that cosmic trash can operates, not in the abstract, but in a gritty, mechanical reality.
So, if you've ever felt like the modern world is feeding on your negativity, or if you've ever wondered if there's a point of no return for the human soul, stick around.
This is for you.
We are descending into the eighth sphere. But before we get to the fiction, we have to deal with theory. Because eighth sphere implies there are 7 other spheres. Where are we on the map?
To understand the eighth sphere, we have to completely reframe how we look at the Earth.
Right.
We have to zoom out to what Theosophy calls cosmic geography.
Cosmic geography. I like that term. But usually when I look at a map of the solar system, I see planets orbiting the sun. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Is that what we're talking about?
Not exactly. That's spatial geography. Steiner and Blavatsky are describing an evolutionary timeline, not just a spatial arrangement.
Ah, okay.
They describe the Earth not as a static rock, but as an entity that reincarnates.
Reincarnates the planet.
Yes. Just as a human soul lives a life, dies, and is reborn in a new body to learn new lessons, the Earth entity has gone through previous incarnations.
Okay, so the Earth has had past lives. That's a huge concept.
It is. The sources describe a planetary chain of 7 stages, or globes. We are currently in the 4th stage, which is the physical Earth we know.
A 4th of 7.
Correct. But before this, we existed in a stage called the Old Moon. Now, careful here, this isn't the satellite we see in the sky tonight.
Right, not the physical moon.
No, it is a spiritual ancestor to the Earth, a previous life of our planet.
So if Earth is solid, you know, rocks, minerals, physical bodies, what was the old moon like? What was the vibe there?
The sources describe it as a world of fluidity. It was a time of intense, chaotic wisdom. Forms weren't fixed.
Not fixed.
No. There were no hard skeletons or rigid mineral structures. Emotions and passions were the dominant forces. It was a watery, shifting reality, almost like a dream
A
state.
dream state. Okay, so in a dream, things morph. You're in a house, then suddenly you're in a forest. Emotions are high, logic is low.
Precisely. The beings on the old moon didn't have a solid sense of self, an I. They were part of a group soul, moved by these huge tides of passion and desire.
So a collective consciousness, almost.
Very much so. The evolutionary goal of moving from the old moon to the Earth was to solidify, to gain an ego, an individual I that can stand apart from the environment and say, I am.
To become an individual.
Exactly. On the old moon, you were part of the group soul. On Earth, you are an individual. You have a hard body, you walk on hard ground. That solidification is the mission of our current epoch.
Okay, so we move from a fluid, communal, emotional state to a solid, individual ego state. That sounds like progress. We grew up.
Ideally, yes. But, and here's the crux of the problem. Evolution is messy.
It's never a clean break.
Never. Whenever you move house, you leave stuff behind, you check the attic, and there are things you simply cannot take with you to the new place.
The trash.
The trash, the dross. The eighth sphere is described as an anomaly. It is a sphere that detached from the old moon but refused or was unable to move forward to become the Earth.
So it's a leftover.
A fragment, a cosmic shard, a leftover. Steiner uses very specific, unsettling imagery here. He calls it a place where darkness holds sway eternally.
An anti-moon.
Yes, it contains the dross of moon astrality. Remember, astrality refers to that lower emotional energy, desires, passions, that fluid chaos. The eighth sphere is a pocket of reality composed entirely of the stuff that couldn't solidify, that couldn't evolve. It's a cosmic debris.
But it's not just sitting there, right? It's not inert. If it were just a floating junk pile, who cares?
That's
but
true.
the sources describe it as a threat.
It is a massive threat because it has gravity.
A spiritual gravity.
Exactly. It is described as a vacuum. Since it disconnected from the evolutionary stream, it lacks its own generative life force. It's dead in the spiritual sense.
So it has to steal it.
It has to steal life. It acts like a parasite. It tries to suck in material from the Earth.
What kind of material? Are we talking about it sucking in rocks and water?
No, it wants human potential. It wants soul stuff.
Yeah.
Specifically, it feeds on what Steiner calls the shadowy intellect and materialism.
Shadowy intellect. That sounds like a specific term. Because usually we think intellect is good. We want to be smart. We want to understand how things work.
We do. But Steiner differentiates between spirit-bound intellect, which sees the meaning, the interconnectedness, and the morality of things, and shadowy intellect.
Okay, what's the difference?
Shadowy intellect is purely materialistic. It is the kind of intelligence that looks at a forest and sees only board feet of lumber.
Right.
It looks at a human being and sees only human resources or calories.
It's reductionist. It strips out the soul of the thing.
It's logic divorced from spirit. It's the intelligence that can build a nuclear bomb, but lacks the moral framework to ask if it should. When we reduce the universe to just atoms and gears, when we deny the spiritual reality, we are creating a resonance with the eighth sphere.
We're tuning our radio to its frequency.
You're tuning in. You are feeding it.
So if I spend my life obsessed with accumulating stuff, or if I view every interaction as a transaction, I'm basically radio tagging myself for the eighth sphere.
You are aligning your frequency with it. You are making yourself compatible with the dross. And the eighth sphere is constantly trying to pull us in.
And it has outposts here, doesn't it?
It does. The sources actually mention some specific embassies of this sphere here on Earth, organisms that represent this energy.
I remember this part. It was unexpected. He mentions spiders.
Yes. Spiders and mistletoe.
Now look, I'm not a fan of spiders. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone is. But calling them beings of the eighth sphere feels personal. Is this just Steiner having arachnophobia, or is there a functional reason for this?
It is not about phobia. It is about the gesture of the creature.
A gesture.
Look at how a spider interacts with the world. It doesn't graze on grass. It doesn't hunt in a pack like a wolf. It sits in the center of a web,
A trap. A cold geometric trap.
a geometric calculated trap.
Ah.
The web is a crystalline structure. It is non-living geometry designed to ensnare life.
Right.
The spider waits for a living being to fly into his coordinate system, and then it sucks the juices out. It consumes the liquid life and leaves a dry husk.
It's the mechanism of the vacuum again. It's an extraction machine.
Precisely. It represents that shadowy intellect, cold, geometric, predatory, and parasitic.
And mistletoe, how does that fit in?
It's a plant that refuses to root in the earth. It roots in another tree. It bypasses the planetary contract of sun and soil and just steals life from a host.
Wow.
These are biological models of how the eighth sphere operates. It is a parasitic dimension that preys on the living.
That idea of geometric entrapment is really sticking with me, because the other thing the sources mention as a portal to the sphere is technology.
Subnature.
Right, subnature. Can you explain that distinction? What's the difference between nature and subnature?
So Steiner posits a hierarchy. We have nature, the organic world of plants, animals, clouds, which strives upwards toward the sun.
Okay.
Then we have the human world, and below that we have subnature. This is the realm of electricity, magnetism, and nuclear force.
The forces we use to run our civilization, our computers, our phones, everything.
Exactly. But Steiner warns that these forces are not neutral. They are related to the eighth sphere. They're forces that pull downwards, into the mineral, into the dead.
That's a heavy thought.
He suggests that what enters into our machines, the electricity itself, are beings of the eighth sphere.
So my laptop, my smartphone, the server farm hosting this deep dive.
They are, in a sense, condos for these sub-earthly forces. When we merge our consciousness with the machine, when we live in the screen, we are stepping into a realm that is, by definition, dead.
It's a world of copies.
The world of copies. The source text calls it a parody of life.
A parody, I like that.
Yes. In the eighth sphere, everything is multiplied. Think about a digital file. You can copy-paste it a million times.
Yeah.
It's fragmentation.
Right, there's no original anymore.
Exactly. In biology, cell division leads to growth. It leads to a new singular entity. In the eighth sphere, division just leads to more debris. It's multiplication of evil.
It's infinite scrolling. It's the feed that never ends, full of copies of copies of copies.
You've nailed it. It mimics infinity, but it's actually a cage.
A cage made of copies.
And this concept of multiplication and the parody of life is the perfect bridge to our fiction book. Because Root Races by Joshua Blake is literally about a city of endless copies, endless screens, and a hunger that can't be filled.
Let's shift gears and walk into this fictional world, because I think this is where the theory becomes terrifyingly real.
It does.
You can read about moon astrality and it feels abstract. But when you read Blake's description of Dallas, you feel the grit. You feel the damp.
Is the eighth sphere made manifest? Let's set the scene for the listener. Blake paints a version of Dallas that has descended upward.
I love that phrase, descended upward. It implies that they've built these towering skyscrapers, this glass and ambition, but spiritually they've sunk into the mud.
The atmosphere is oppressive. The book describes the city as being in a state of perpetual flood. Rain turned the streets to obsidian.
Just constantly wet and dark.
And the smell? Do you recall the description of the smell?
I do. Tangerines, like bruised fruit left too long in the dark.
That detail is brilliant. It connects right back to Steiner's overripe fruit analogy for the eighth sphere. It's sweet, but it's rotting. It's cloying. It's the smell of decomposition masked by perfume.
And the city is a mix of high-tech and absolute squalor. But the core mechanism, the thing that makes this a deep dive subject rather than just a sci-fi book, is the economic system.
Tragics.
Tragics, all caps, tragedy buys light.
Walk us through the mechanism. How does a citizen in this Dallas keep the lights on?
In this world, the power grid is failing, or, more accurately, it is being artificially throttled by the corporate overlords, Pitchfork Energies, and the Salamanca Casino.
So energy is scarce.
Extremely. To get credits kilowatts, you cannot just pay with money. You have to upload proof of suffering.
Proof of suffering? Like what?
Actual video evidence, a car crash, a shooting, a mother weeping over a hospital bill. You upload it to the tragic exchange.
Oh my God. The system uses an algorithm to verify the authenticity of the pain. If it's real, if it's raw, your smart meter tops up. You get lights for another night.
It's the monetization of misery.
But look deeper. It's the industrial extraction of misery. In our real world, we talk about the attention economy, right?
Sure. Doom scroll.
We doom scroll. We watch train wrecks on the news. We monetize outrage. But in Blake's Dallas, it's not just for clicks or ad revenue. It is the literal energy source of the city.
That's the key. It's not a byproduct. It is the product.
It is the fuel.
There's that scene where the protagonist, Danny Hughes, passes a light station, and the automated voice says, "Tonight in Dallas, tragedy buys light. No subsidies. Keep your home alive." It sounds almost benevolent.
Of course it does.
Like we're giving you a way to survive.
That is the trap. That is the spider's web. The system says, you are in pain. Good. Give us that pain, and we will give you this artificial light.
It creates a closed loop.
A perfect one. The city creates the suffering through poverty, floods, violence, neglect, and then the citizens harvest that suffering to pay the city for the privilege of existing.
It's a vacuum? Pitchfork energy's sucking the dross, the heavy, dense emotional energy out of the population.
And what do they give back? Light. But it's not spiritual light. It's neon. It's pixels. It's the parody we talked about.
Yeah, a copy of light.
They are trading their soul stuff for lumens.
There's a pastor in the book, Father John, who really drives this home. He says, "We tithe in pain now, and the Lord turns it to light."
That is a chilling theological inversion.
Completely.
Think about what religion or spirituality is supposed to do. The goal is to transmute suffering into wisdom. You go through a hard time, you grieve, you learn, you grow, you become more compassionate.
It's alchemy.
That is spiritual alchemy. You turn lead into gold.
Here.
Here, the alchemy is short-circuited. You don't turn suffering into wisdom. You turn suffering into currency.
You sell it.
You sell the experience before you can learn from it. You externalize it. You upload it. And once you sell it, it's gone. You are hollowed out.
You become a husk, like the fly in the web.
Exactly. You are left with the trauma, but without the meaning. And this brings us to the most disturbing part of the theory, the geography.
The geography.
In the book, the characters are constantly moving down.
Right.
The streets are flooded, the basements are full. To find the truth, the protagonist has to descend. And this connects us to the ninth sphere.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've done the eighth sphere, the trash can. Now we are introducing the ninth sphere. Usually when I hear numbers, I assume they go out. Eighth sphere, ninth sphere, 10th sphere. Like going further into space.
That would be logical, but occult anatomy is often inverted. We have to look inward.
Inward.
In the esoteric tradition, specifically sources like Samael Onwer and the Dantean tradition, the ninth sphere is the absolute center of the Earth.
The core. The literal core of the planet.
The core.
Ah.
But, and here's where it gets controversial and where we need to be very precise, the sources explicitly state the ninth sphere is sex.
Okay. I'm trying to connect center of the Earth with human reproduction. Is this a metaphor for heat, pressure, creation?
So it's all of that. It's both energetic and symbolic. Think about what the center of the Earth is. It is the forge. The flaming forge of Vulcan.
Right, the engine room.
It is the place of immense creative power where matter is dense and hot and life-giving. It is the engine of the planet.
Okay.
Now look at the human microcosm. Where is the creative center? Where is the forge that can create new life?
The sexual organs.
It is the sexual organs.
Yeah.
The ninth sphere represents the raw creative force of the universe, the generative principle itself.
So it's powerful. Insanely powerful.
It is the most powerful force. It is the fire that builds worlds. The sources say that descent into the ninth sphere is the highest trial for initiates.
The highest trial.
Yes. Figures like Jesus, Hermes, Dante, they all had to descend into the ninth sphere. They had to go to the underworld.
Why? Why go to the hell layer if you're trying to go to heaven?
To retemper the sword, to master the creative force. The idea is that you cannot be a master of life if you are afraid of the basement.
You have to face the engine.
You have to enter the sphere of sex, the sphere of raw, chaotic creation, and control it. You have to work with that fire and water without being consumed by it.
Fire and water, that sounds alchemical.
It is. If you can harness that energy for spiritual ascent, you rise. But, and this is the big warning in the texts, if you fail, if you spill the vessel.
Spill the vessel. That sounds like a polite euphemism.
It refers to the loss of sexual energy, specifically through lust, animalistic indulgence, or without spiritual intent.
So misusing the creative force.
Exactly. If you let the energy control you instead of you controlling it, you don't ascend, you fall.
And where do you fall to?
You fall through the ninth sphere into the eighth.
Ah, so the ninth sphere is the trapdoor.
It's the trapdoor. The ninth sphere, sex earth core, is the interface. It's the border control.
The great trial.
If you master the energy, you go up to the higher spheres. If you become enslaved by the energy, by the animal passions, you slip through the cracks and end up in the eighth sphere, the trash can.
This makes the geography of root races so much more significant. Because in the book, the bad part of town, East Dallas, is flooded.
Water, the symbol of astral passion, uncontrolled emotion.
And it's ruled by this gang, the Harbor Knights. They ride around on motorboats with AK-47s. The text describes them as patches of evil moments in time.
This raw, violent impulse.
And the area is described as a marketplace of flesh. It is the ninth sphere gone wrong.
It's the fire and water of the forge, but the fire is gunfire and the water is flood water. It's unbridled, destructive passion. It's the chaotic old moon energy resurfacing.
The protagonist, Danny Hughes, has to go to a specific location in this zone, the marrow bar.
Marrow, as in inside the bone, the absolute center.
The deepest, most central part.
He is making the initiate's descent. He's going into the gut of the city to find the truth. He is doing exactly what Dante did.
But instead of finding a way out, he finds the ledger. This part really freaked me out. It's located in the Salamanca casino.
The ledger. This is a fascinating artifact in the book. It records spiritual contract and negative emotion as law.
The quote is, "The negative emotion of Dallas became spiritual contract."
Think about that.
It sounds like they are using the pain of the city to write the laws of reality.
That is black magic, pure and simple. Steiner warns about the 9th layer of the earth being the layer of black magic and egoism.
And he says it connects to the 8th sphere.
It connects the earth to the 8th sphere. The ledger is the paperwork for that connection. It's binding the souls of the citizens to the disposal unit.
So let's track this mechanism. The citizens indulge in the shadowy intellect, materialism. They fall into the 9th sphere, uncontrolled passion, despair. The ledger binds them. And then, where does the energy go? Who is catching it?
We have a system. We have a trap. But is there a pilot who is running this disposal unit? Or is it just a mindless machine?
In the fiction, it's the corporate board of pitchfork energies. But in the occult lore, there is a name for the intelligence behind the 8th sphere.
Yes, the antagonist force. His name is Sorath.
Sorath, the sun demon.
The sun demon. Now, don't think of a guy in a red suit with a pitchfork. We need to think energetically.
Okay.
If the sun represents life, warmth, giving, and Christ consciousness, the force that helps us grow and evolve, Sorath represents the black sun.
The black sun. That sounds like a heavy metal band, but I'm guessing it's worse.
Much worse. The black sun is the darker aspect of the solar force. It is the force that seeks to turn humans into beasts.
Into animals.
Into intelligent animals devoid of spirit. Its goal is to detach the Earth from its evolution. Sorath wants to snap the chain. He wants to pull the Earth out of its orbit and merge it with the 8th sphere.
He wants to pull the whole planet into the trash.
Effectively, yes. He wants to create a permanent anti-sun, a place of eternal darkness and mechanical light.
And in Root Races, we have an academy in Frisco, a wealthy suburb of Dallas called the Black Sun Academy, Schwartz Sun Academy.
Subtlety is not Joshua Blake's strong suit here, but it works.
It's pretty on the nose.
It is, and it's funded by black budget money. It represents the institutionalization of this evil. It shows that this isn't just random chaos. It's an organized effort to derail humanity.
There's a plot point involving the Black Sun Academy that I found so cynical but so believable. The Mayor Fortune, who is nicknamed the Iron Maiden, and the executives go on a spiritual retreat to Tibet.
Ah, yes, the karma dodging trick.
They call it POA. In the book, they are literally trying to pay monks to take on their spiritual debt so they can keep exploiting people back in Dallas without suffering the consequences.
This is the ultimate Sorathic move.
How so?
It's the shadowy intellect hacking spirituality. They are treating karma like a tax loophole.
Right.
If I pay this guy to pray for me, I can go back to eating the poor.
It's outsourcing your soul?
Exactly. It's the belief that you can buy your way out of cosmic law.
Oh.
But the book suggests, and the theory confirms, that you can't cheat the iron necessity.
Iron necessity. That phrase comes up a lot in the book.
It does. It's a direct reference to Steiner's beings of iron necessity. These are forces that govern cause and effect. Karma, basically.
Yeah.
You can delay the check, but you can't cancel it.
It always comes due.
Always. There's a character in the book, Rudolf.
A masked vigilante named Rudolf. A
Yes.
clear nod to Rudolf Steiner.
A very clear nod. He fights against the Iron Maiden. He speaks of balance. But the scariest part of this system isn't the oppression from the top down.
No.
It's the agreement from the bottom up.
There's a line in the book that really stuck with me. A character describes the world as a cage, but she says the cage isn't iron, it's agreement. We agree on what is real, and it holds us.
That is a profound insight into how the 8th sphere traps us.
It's consensual.
Completely. The 8th sphere only has power because we feed it. We agree that the Tragiax currency is valuable. We agree that the light they sell us is worth our suffering. We agree that materialism is the only reality.
It's a consensual hallucination.
If we stopped agreeing, the vacuum would have nothing to suck. The spider would starve.
Well, what happens if you stay? If you keep agreeing? If you keep selling your pieces until there's nothing left?
You face the ultimate danger, the second death.
Okay, distinguish this for me. First death is the body dies. Everyone does that. Second death is?
The soul dies. Or rather, the personality, the ego, the I that you have built up over lifetimes disintegrates.
You just cease to exist.
In the occult view, the spirit, the divine spark, might eventually be released to start over, way back at the beginning like a single-celled organism. But you, your memories, your loves, your personality, everything that makes you you, is stripped away.
So it's not damnation, it's deletion.
It is the dross that is left behind in the eighth sphere to be ground down into spiritual mulch. It's a total format of the hard drive.
Exactly. And Root Races visualizes this horrifyingly. There's a character named Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob.
Yeah.
Hangs around the roulette table. A ghost at the feast.
He is described as a ghost or soul drifting. He is thin and frayed. He isn't burning in hellfire. He's just fading. He is becoming transparent.
He's losing his coherence.
Yes, he is becoming part of the background radiation of the casino.
And while he fades, he is feeding the flower.
The flower. This is perhaps the most terrifying image in Root Races.
I think it is.
Describe it for the listeners who haven't read the book.
It's a machine. A rotating mechanical flower located in the center of the casino. But its petals are screens.
And what do they show?
And it displays scenes of violence, lynchings, murders, real snuff films. And the text says it is feeding on the heat.
It's getting warm from the death on the screen.
It is a parasite eating the etheric blood of humanity. It is the perfect symbol of the eighth sphere.
Yeah.
A beautiful mechanical thing that is dead, eating the living to pretend it's alive.
Like a vampire.
It consumes our red disgust, as the book calls it, to generate a false life.
It reminds me of what you said earlier about the spider. It's a geometric structure that eats life. The flower is just a high-tech spider.
Precisely. And it brings us to the final warning of our deep dive.
Yeah.
The role of science and medicine in all of this. Because the book mentions the medical men.
This links to a source you provided from Alice Bailey regarding the New Age.
Yes. She warned about medical men who would try to manipulate the etheric body, the energy structure of the human using science, but without spiritual understanding.
Forced evolution, trying to speed things up with technology.
Exactly. In Root Races, Tragedy X isn't just a business. It's presented by the analysts and scientists as social anesthesia.
Oh, that's sinister.
They call it a hedge of conscience. They argue that this system is good because it manages pain efficiently. They say, look, we've solved the energy crisis and the trauma crisis at the same time.
We've optimized suffering.
That is the trap of the modern age. We try to use technology to solve spiritual problems. We have apps for mindfulness. We have algorithms for connection. But the source warns that if you try to manage spiritual forces with the same cold, hard logic you use to manage a factory,
You're just building a bigger cage.
you are just building a more efficient eighth sphere.
In the book, the hacker magician Mirandola tries to fight the system using code. He tries to hack the casino.
And what happens?
He fails. He realizes he's dealing with things older than him, darker than him.
You can't hack a demon. You can't debug a fallen soul. It's not a software bug. It's a spiritual trap,
A hardware problem.
a soulware problem. The source also mentions that mediums who open themselves up without training often only contact beings of the eighth sphere.
Because it's the closest layer of trash, it's the loudest, most desperate signal.
Exactly. If you just open the door without tempering the sword in the ninth sphere,
Yeah.
you don't get angels. You get the dross. You get the echoes of the dead who are trapped. You get the spiders.
So Joshua Blake's Dallas is basically a giant warning label.
It is a warning against the commodification of experience. That is the core trap.
Let's synthesize this. We've gone deep. We've been to the anti-moon. We've been to the flooded streets of East Dallas. We've been to the center of the earth. What is the big takeaway here? Why should the listener care about 19th century occultism and a dystopian sci-fi book?
Because the eighth sphere isn't just a place out there. It is a state of being.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. And Root Races visualizes it perfectly. It is the cosmic trash can for those who choose materialism and egoism over spirit. But think about the specific mechanism. Selling your tragedy for light.
Selling your soul for convenience.
Selling your suffering for temporary comfort. When we turn our lives into content, when we perform our pain for likes, for clicks, for social currency, we are engaging in the mechanics of the eighth sphere.
We are uploading our pain to the grid.
We are taking the sacred, difficult substance of our lives, our karma, and turning it into dross.
And we are feeding the machine. We are feeding the flower.
We are. Steiner warned about the shadowy intellect. Intellect divorced from spirit creates a mirror image of reality.
Our reflection.
Think about the neon reflections in the flooded streets of Dallas. They look like light, but they are just reflections on black water. If you try to grab them, you drown.
That is a haunting image. We are chasing the reflection of the light instead of the source.
And that is the trap of the eighth sphere. It offers a copy, a parody. It says, here, have this electric light. It's just as good as the sun. But it costs you your humanity.
There is a quote from the book I want to leave everyone with. It's near the end. The stage does not light unless one pair of eyes is open.
A provocative thought.
It makes me wonder, are we the audience watching the tragedy? Are we the actors performing it? Or are we the ones paying the electric bill?
Or perhaps is the invitation to stop watching the stage entirely, to close our eyes to the screen, to the neon parody, and try to find the real sun again.
Even if it's harder to see.
Even if it's harder to see in the dark.
The show only goes on because we are watching. Avoid the spiders, don't feed the flower, and for God's sake, keep your own light. This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for descending with us.
Hopefully we all make it back up.
Until next time.